Hey there, this is Clay with modernlove.life, where we help you get the great loving relationship that you're looking for without having to play mind games, without having to play hard to get, and without having to pretend to be someone or something that you are not, because I believe that you deserve to be loved for the person that you are. And if you agree with me and you'd like to help support us, please do me a favor by giving this video a thumbs up and by subscribing to our channel if you are not already. Also, if you'd like to get more guidance and strategies for your specific situation, please make sure that you're on our newsletter. You can sign up for that over at relationshipinnergame.com. Or if you'd like to take things to a deeper level, you may also want to consider signing up for one of our courses, such as the X Solution program over at modernlove.life/ESP. Okay, so today we're talking about when the no contact rule is a bad idea. And this video is really inspired by things that I'm seeing on the internet in comments and things of that nature, where people are essentially looking at no contact as if it's something that they have to do, as if no matter what their situation is, they need to do no contact. It's some sort of like rite of passage, and that no matter what the circumstances, you should totally do no contact. And I want to come out against that because although there is a time and place for no contact, not everybody needs to do no contact. No contact should only be done if the two of you are interacting and it is driving the two of you further and further apart, and the connection between the two of you is deteriorating, or if you're just not enjoying the process of being in contact with your ex, if it's causing you to feel bad, if it's causing you to go through an emotional roller coaster that is not something that you want to experience or that you're equipped to experience right now. These are really the main reasons why you should not do no contact, or no contact might be a bad idea. And the reason for this is obviously if you're not enjoying the process, then that means there's something wrong with your mindset or your perspective on things, and you need to take a step back and get that figured out. When it comes to the interactions with your ex, if those are not causing the two of you to come closer together and they're causing you to distance yourselves and become further and further apart, then again, clearly something's not working. And instead of staying in contact and risking doing further damage, it makes sense to distance yourself, to take a pause, to take a step back and say, what's not working? What could I be doing instead? How could I be changing the way that I interact with my ex in a way that actually could bring us closer together? And those are the times when doing no contact makes sense. Now, again, if you are coming together and you are having a strong connection and this is something that you're enjoying, then no contact can be a bad idea. The reason for this is because no contact, it can send the wrong message. No contact can send the message of, when the going gets tough, I pull away. When the going gets tough, I disappear. When the going gets tough, I'm out of here. And that is not a very strong relationship signal to be sending to somebody. If you think that no contact is something that you should do whenever you have an uncomfortable situation with your ex, whenever the two of you have a disagreement or an argument, or they do something that you don't like or whatever, and you retreat into no contact, that does risk sending the signal of, when the going gets tough, I go away. And again, that's not a very good indicator for a long-term relationship. So you do run the very real risk of sending a message to your ex that, hey, I am not relationship material, because when things get tough, I'm gone. So you want to be careful about that, definitely. The main point I want you to take away from all of this is that in this corner of YouTube, and probably this spills over into other areas of the internet as well too, but there's a very common belief that you need to do no contact no matter what. You need to use no contact as your only tool. You need to do no contact whenever something happens that you don't like, such as you find out your ex is in a rebound relationship, such as you and your ex have an argument, such as your ex is not responding to you, such as your ex is confused and not committing, etc. And I don't like that approach because it causes you to turn your brain off and to just by default follow some sort of arbitrary rule that somebody came up with at some point in time. Like, I don't know. The first time I ever heard about the no contact rule was in 2003, which, in internet years is before the beginning of time. It apparently existed before then, so who knows how long it's been around. But I don't want you to turn your brain off. I do not want you to be shut down and not paying attention to what's actually happening in the dynamics between you and your ex. So I want you to be present. And that requires not turning your brain off and just following some arbitrary rule that somebody on the internet told you to always do all the time. So you're going to have to feel into the situation. You're going to have to know if doing no contact is right for your situation or if it's wrong for your situation. You're going to have to know if doing no contact makes sense for where you're at or if it doesn't make sense for where you're at. You're going to have to feel into the situation and see, does it make sense for my own benefit and for the benefit of our connection for me to cut contact? Or is that a poor choice? And that's really when you have to do some thinking to find out if no contact is a good idea or if doing no contact is a bad idea. The other point of contention that I have with no contact is there are a lot of different perspectives on no contact. There are some people that see no contact as a sort of mind game, as if like I cut contact with my ex and then they're going to come crawling back to me. They're going to miss me so much that they reach out and contact me. And, sure, that is something that can happen. But if that's the only reason that you're doing no contact, it does border on like kind of a mind game. And that is not a good road to go down. I think that no contact should be done for the sake of you taking care of yourself, first of all. Second of all, for you trying to evaluate what's not working in your communication with your ex and making any changes necessary so that you can have better communication and better interactions that bring the two of you together. And beyond that, anything else that happens as a result of no contact, if your ex misses you and reaches out, if your ex becomes curious about you or whatever it might be, that's just icing on the cake. But you have to go into no contact with the intention of, hey, this is something that I'm doing for me. This is something that I'm doing for the benefit of our relationship and the benefit of our connection. And if you miss me while I'm doing it, then that's okay. But it's not required for this to be a beneficial thing for us to do. So you have to be careful about the intention, because no contact should not be a mind game. It should not be some sort of like power play. It should really be something that you do for yourself and for the possibility of creating a better connection between the two of you by examining and looking at how you're bringing yourself to interactions, by looking at how you're relating to your ex, by looking at how you are relating to yourself and how this breakup is causing you to see yourself, perceive yourself, experience your ex, perceive your ex, and bring yourself to your ex. And as you do this, as you start to make progress in having a better relationship with yourself and having a better relationship with others, then once you come out of no contact, then you can really demonstrate to your ex that this is not the same dynamic that we had before that wasn't working. And as a result of that, you might want to consider actually being in contact with me, connecting with me, and potentially even being back together with me. If, on the other hand, you're using no contact as some sort of mind game, as some sort of thing that you're doing and you don't know why or whatever, and you just cut contact with your ex and you try to white knuckle it through the 1 month or however long it is, and you get back in contact with your ex at the end of that, and it's just like, whew, thank goodness that's over, but you're still the same person, and you're not demonstrating any legitimate change as the result of that, then your ex is, you run the risk of sending a message to your ex that says, hey, I'm the same person that I was before. You should be glad that you weren't in contact with me for the next month. How can you find a way to stay out of contact with me for another month? And I know it's tough, but that is really the risk that you run when you don't demonstrate legitimate change as the result of doing no contact, as the result of stepping back from your interactions with your ex to look at what wasn't working and to make any necessary changes in that regard. So anyway, that's when no contact is a bad idea. That's when no contact is a good idea. Hope that's helped you out. If you like what we're doing, do me a favor, support this channel by giving this video a thumbs up if you have not already, and subscribe to the channel if you would like to get more notifications and more videos like this in your newsfeed. Also, if you want more strategies and guidance, please make sure you're on our newsletter over at relationshipinnergame.com. Or if you'd like to consider taking things to the next level, you might want to check out our course called the X Solution Program at modernlove.life/ESP. All right, with that being said, let's see what folks are talking about on this Saturday afternoon here. Okay, we have some deleted messages. Somebody says, every time she feels like she's losing me, she puts some effort and tries to get me back. And when I give effort, she stops. Maybe I'm not thinking clearly, or what do you think? Okay, so now we're starting to get into potentially attachment styles and attachment theory. So, I mean, she potentially could be an avoidant attachment type, which is the kind of person that, when you start to get close to them, they distance themselves. And when you give them space, they come to you. And that definitely could be a realistic possibility. She could be emotionally unavailable. She could be playing mind games. But that's all irrelevant, because barring the possibility that you may be bringing yourself to interacting with her in a way that might be actively encouraging her to distance herself from you. For example, if you were needy, if you were clingy, if you were attached to outcome or something of that nature. But barring all of that, you have to look at this and say, okay, she's the kind of person that when I start to get close to her, she pulls away. And when I pull away, she starts to come to me. Is that the kind of relationship that I want to be in? If that's the kind of relationship that you want to be in, fine. Go ahead. Continue with that dynamic. If that's not the kind of relationship that you want to be in, you have to accept her as the person that she is. Understand that she is unlikely to change that, especially if she's been that way for the entirety of the time that you've known her. And if that's not the kind of relationship that you want, and that is the kind of person that she is, then you have to say, hey, I can't get what I want from this person. Therefore, I have to make some tough choices here. And I know it's not fun. I know it's not easy, because you have these things called feelings. You have emotions that are telling you, yeah, I feel attracted to this person. But if that person is unable or unwilling to give you what you want or what you need in a relationship, then trying to hope and pray that things are going to be otherwise is just an exercise in frustration and futility. And you have to know when to call it quits. Now, I'm not saying that this necessarily applies to your situation, because I'm just basing this off of one tiny little chat comment in the chat box, and I obviously can't understand your whole situation as the result of that, but that's some things to consider right there, okay? What else are folks talking about today? But I also know that I have no idea what the first part of this conversation is. Anyway, VCGLC says, but I also know that she is a very no BS type of person, and that it may even be annoying for her. So my question is it okay to text her asking for a casual meetup when it suits her, or is it too much for a first contact after 30 days? Note, we broke up without a fight or anything like that. I've done some pleading, but I quickly stopped. Okay, so I apparently missed the first part of your post there. I don't know if that was one of those deleted messages or what's going on. But typically speaking, asking for a meetup with first contact is, generally speaking, a little bit too much too soon. I don't know what the dynamic was like with your ex before no contact, But as you're breaking no contact, you want to, generally speaking, especially if there's no hurt feelings or anything like that, generally speaking, you want to just initiate contact in a casual sort of way to probe to see where your ex is at, what their emotional state is at. Are they receptive to talking to you? Are they closed off to talking to you? Are they upset with you for some reason or something else entirely? And as you start to probe and understand what their emotional state is, you can get a sense of how they're feeling. And then you can meet them where they're at emotionally. So if they're upset, meet them in their upset and follow them and relate to them and empathize with them and talk them through that to the point where they can work through that and get to the point where they're more open and receptive to talking to you. If they're already open and receptive and talking to you, great, that's cool. If they're kind of neutral, bring them down to that emotional level, or sense if they're just being standoffish for some other reason or whatever it might be, and then just try to get into some sense of rapport with them. As you start to get into some sense of rapport with them through banter or conversation or whatever it might be, you'll start to notice that the emotional connection is kind of snapping into place and clicking a little bit. And as that happens, then you can easily segue into suggesting a meetup or suggesting something else a little bit higher up the hierarchy of communication. So that's really the more organic way to do it, as opposed to asking for the meetup straight out of the gate. That's not to say that asking for a meetup straight out of the gate won't work. It totally can work, but you run a risk when you do that. You run a risk of not knowing what their emotional state is, because like you said, you've been in no contact for I don't know how long, let's just say a month. You've been out of contact for a month. You don't know how she feels about you. You don't know where she's at emotionally. You don't know if she's having a good day or a bad day. And so by asking her out of the blue, do you want to get together for coffee or something like that, then you run the risk of her being pissed off at you, of her having a bad day, of her, not being in the mood for any number of reasons. But if you probe slowly and get a sense of where she's at emotionally, then you know when the right time to do the setup for the in-person meetup is, and it's going to seem a whole lot more natural and organic. Whereas if you just go for the meetup right out of the gate, it's going to seem like maybe you had a hidden agenda or an ulterior motive or something like that already planned in the back of your mind. Whereas if you let the interaction develop organically, and then you say, hey, I'm really enjoying talking to you. I'd love to catch up in person. How do you feel about coffee on this day at this time? Then that seems so much more understandable as to why you're asking for that get together, and it's going to seem like the most normal and natural thing in the entire world. So that's how I'd recommend suggesting a meetup when you're coming back into contact with your ex. All right, what else are folks talking about? Got more delete. I have no idea why there's all these deleted messages here today. So let's see, what does that say? Oh, man, I need to get new contact lenses. Terry says, I had a relationship. She was not into me. There was no relationship. I ended it. Not really following the whole story there. So you had a relationship, she was not into you, and there was no relationship, and you ended it. Tough situation there, I guess. I mean, it just sounds like there was no real connection between the two of you. I'm guessing there was probably some degree of attraction initially, otherwise the two of you wouldn't have spent time together, possibly gone out on a couple of dates, but I think it sounds like things just sort of petered out after that because there was no connection, there was no bonding, there was no shared values, there was no common interest, there was no things of that nature. That doesn't mean that you can't overcome that. You just have to really say, okay, why was there no emotional connection? Was it because I was so focused on the date that I was too caught up in performing and I wasn't actually relaxed and I wasn't actually having a conversation and an emotional connection with her? And or was it like something like I was just so caught up in trying not to look stupid during the date that I ended up actually not showing any of my personality whatsoever? I mean, you have to look at it like that, and you have to say, okay, what was it that was actually holding me back? And if you really do want to explore what's possible between you and this person, then I would suggest getting back in contact and really doing what you need to do to form an emotional connection, as opposed to whatever was keeping that emotional connection from forming in the first place. Oftentimes people talk about chemistry and how you have to have chemistry with somebody as if it's like some sort of rare magical thing. And sure, chemistry with some people is definitely easier than chemistry with other people, but you can have an emotional connection with anybody. It's just a matter of taking an empathic stance, seeing the world from their perspective, having present moment awareness, having composure and integrity, and being willing to communicate in an effective way. I mean, that's all you really have to do, is just do all that, have curiosity about the perspective on things, and ask questions, take things down to an emotional level, and create bonding through a lot of the things that we've talked about in many of our other videos. And granted, you will just instinctively vibe with some people organically, just through sheer luck and happenstance, easier than you will with others, but it doesn't mean that you can't form a connection with other people. So if that's what you need to do in order to have an emotional connection with her, then by all means go ahead and do that. Okay, where did we leave off? Scroll back to the beginning. Okay, that's where we ended. More. Someone says no contact works. It works. Sometimes it works. Depends on how you use it. Depends on which no contact rule you're using. Depends on the considerations about no contact that we've talked about in this video. No contact does not always work, since it can sometimes send a signal to your ex that when the going gets tough, I run away. And that is not always a very positive relationship signal to send to somebody else. What else are a lot of deleted messages? I don't know why there's all these deleted messages. I don't know, are these like trolls or something? Let's see. I'm not even gonna try to read that. I need to order some new contacts, basically. So I'm the one that broke up with my ex. I didn't speak to him for 3 months, not because I was doing ANC, but because that's where I was in my mind, that I need to get my mind straight, and he's still upset about that, about me not, is there a continuation here? About me not speaking to him during that time. I recently started the ESP course, so since we've reconnected, it doesn't make sense for me to do no contact, correct? Yeah, I mean, it really doesn't make sense for you to do no contact. Assuming that you actually have gotten your mind right during that time that you weren't talking to him, it really doesn't make sense to do no contact. If he's upset about you because of that time that you were out of contact with him, I would really suggest using something like the fresh start technique that we've talked about inside the ESP course. Thanks for signing up for that, by the way. I really appreciate that. Go ahead and use something like that to explain to him that you did not intend to hurt him, and to express to him what your experience of all of that was and why you did what you did, so that he has a sense of understanding, because he probably thinks that you're doing this in order to hurt him, or in order to do some sort of mind game or some sort of power play or something like that. And if that's the case, then it's understandable that, he might feel hurt in regards to that. So you want to address that directly and clean that up. And I think that might be enough to open him up a little bit more if he's still holding on to that pain and hurt. Okay, so I hope that helps you out. Looks like we had a super chat here. Great, thank you very much. Okay, so there's a comment here from that person, so let's go ahead and answer that. Again, my understanding of internet etiquette is that I must reply to all super chats, so I'm going to follow etiquette here. Thanks again. I don't explicitly ask for super chats, but if you guys want to send them over, I really appreciate that. Anyway, the super chat says, he used to send memes daily. I deleted my Instagram to see if he will stop contact, but he still tries different excuses to talk. That's the only comment I see from you. Oh wait, there's some more up here. Okay, let's start here. My ex messages weekly, always complimenting my pictures. deletes my Instagram so that he can only app, not following there. Um, Also, a lot of reminiscing, but never more. Is he just stroking his ego? My ex of a year still messages weekly, always complimenting my picture. Oh, okay, that's the same comment here. Um, so let's see. He's just sending me. Yeah, it sounds like he's trying to stay in contact with you. I mean, there is a possibility that he might be trying to stroke his ego, trying to feel good about himself because, I don't know, maybe dating is harder than he thought it would be or something like that. It's a possibility, but my guess is that he's just doing this because he wants to stay in contact with you, because he actually is curious about what's going on with you and he's trying to form an emotional connection with you. I like that. That's the one reason that makes the most sense as to why he's contacting you and sending you memes and even trying to keep in touch with you even after you've deleted your Instagram account. It's because he most likely misses having a connection with you. Now, there is the small sliver of a chance that he's, trying to play some sort of mind game on you for one reason or another, or trying to stroke his own ego or whatever, but I'd say that's generally quite unlikely. Most of the time, most people are, genuinely trying to form an emotional connection with another person and genuinely trying to do the right thing in life. There is the small amount of people that are just jerks, and unfortunately, they do exist, and you may have to encounter them. But my guess is that he's probably just trying to keep in touch with you and probably just trying to connect with you, and maybe that's just the only way that he knows how to do it. Let's see, was there another super chat? There was. This is from Olson. Okay. See, I can read some of these. Okay. Stage 3. Sorry, forgot to put that there. I love ESP, by the way. Well, thanks for signing up for ESP. Okay, there's your comment here. Bit of a weird situation. So my ex called me last night to tell me that she is seeing someone, but has her guard up not only for him, but every man for that matter. I believe that she is at stage 3, which would be riding the dragon. What do I do? Yeah, so why would your ex contact you to let you know that she's dating somebody else? I mean, like we were talking about a moment ago, there is the possibility that she did that because she's trying to play some sort of game with you. She's testing you or something like that. But my hunch is that she's probably telling you that because she trusts you. She trusts you enough to confide emotionally in what's going on with her. And now, obviously you probably don't want to hear about her dating anyone else. It's probably not something you're like, yeah, tell me all about the new relationship. Tell me all the details about that. I'd really love to know every sort of detail about it. You probably don't want that. And so what you need to do is you need to enforce a boundary if that's what makes sense. Tell her, hey, I really appreciate you being honest and forthright with me about all this stuff. The truth is, however, that I really don't feel comfortable talking about, people that you're dating. I hope you don't take it personally. It's just I'm still working on my own issues regarding our breakup and all of that, and I just don't think it's something that I can emotionally handle. And then you just dive right back into the conversation to try and normalize things so that she doesn't feel awkward or offended or anything like that as the result of that. Because you still want her to feel like she can come to you and talk to you, but again, you have to have those boundaries on your side. And you want to give her the benefit of the doubt, believing that she's probably not doing this for some sort of malicious, sinister, sadistic kind of purpose, right? Because most likely she's probably not. Most likely she just trusts you. She just wants to talk to you. She wants to have an emotional connection with you. She wants to share with you what's going on and how she's having hesitations around men or something like that. I agree with you. She probably is at the riding the dragon stage, confused, and doesn't really know what's going on. It probably makes absolutely no sense to her why she's reaching out to you to tell you about this stuff either. I doubt she actually has any sort of sinister motives because I doubt that she even really understands her own motives in doing this. I think I saw one other super chat. It's another 99 cent euro, 99 100ths of a euro. I think it's called a cent. I'm not sure. Shows how uncultured I am. But anyway, why won't he take a step further? What can I do to help him? I don't want to connect. I want a relationship. Otherwise, move on. Shall I tell him to stop or ignore? Thanks again, Clay. Okay, so I don't know exactly where he's at, but chances are that he wants to have a connection with you, to feel it out, to know whether or not the two of you can have a connection and what that connection might be like before he feels comfortable going into a relationship, before he feels comfortable exploring the possibility of a relationship even. So he's just trying to feel things out with you, most likely. Again, I don't know the specifics of your situation, so it might be otherwise, but I would imagine that he's really just trying to test the waters, see how you're feeling about him, see what interacting with the two of you might be like, and then if it's positive, if it feels good, he might consider having some sort of relationship with you. But he has to have that emotional connection in place before he feels comfortable with a relationship. He has to have that emotional connection strong and sturdy before he has the confidence to actually have a relationship. So I would suggest really reaching out and restoring that degree of contact between the two of you. You know, it sounds like he's trying through his memes, through his other messages that he's sending you. I would go ahead and engage with him, start a conversation with him, perhaps get together with him for, you know, something simple and low stress, like, you know, coffee or something, just to see what the dynamic between the two of you is like and to explore what might be possible between the two of you, and then take things from there. I know that you want a connection, a commitment, and I know that you probably want it right now, but where he's at emotionally, he needs to feel this out, and he needs to explore this before he really is going to feel comfortable and confident moving forward with a commitment and knowing where things are going to go. Okay, I think there was one more super chat. You know, thanks a lot for these super chat guys. They're making this video kind of long. I really appreciate it though. I had two quick questions. Okay, I'm trying to find. Oh, there's one. No, wait, no, that was the one we talked about before. Wait, no, it felt like too much of friendship, but he gives these mixed signals. He shows he likes me, but just doesn't take the step. Okay, so yeah, I mean, he might not take the step because he's still feeling out where you're at. He might not feel confident taking that next step and, you know, asking you out to do something or inviting you out to go somewhere or taking things in the romantic direction because he doesn't want to risk his own ego. He doesn't want to put it all out on the line and say, I'm still attracted to you, I want to get together with you. And you're just going to be like, no, I'm not interested whatsoever. You're stupid or something like that. He doesn't want you to tell him something like that. So he's just kind of feeling things out with you. And if you do want to explore what's possible with him, then by all means, go ahead and explore what's possible with him and be willing to engage with him. I know that for a lot of women, it can feel really weird, but you don't have to wait for the man to make all the moves in situations like this. It's a totally different scenario when it comes to dating, but when it comes to this, it's important to recognize that this is not a dating scenario. This is not the same thing as like, hey, I met this girl for the first time ever and I like her. Should we go out and go do something together? No, this is like, hey, there's somebody who I have a long and complicated history with. What should we do? Should I get in contact with her? Should I feel things out? Should I risk being rejected? All of these sorts of things. And so it's a bit of a different scenario. Plus, I mean, if you really do want a connection with him, be willing to step into that. Be willing to express how you feel. Be willing to take things to the next level. And it sounds like he's putting in effort. So if you put in some effort as well too, he'll probably actually start to step up his effort because he'll start to see, hey, you're investing in our dynamic with one another, and that means that I can free myself to invest a little bit more. So that's really what I'd recommend. And I saw that we have one more super chat. Wow, guys, I really did not expect to be on this long. So there's more stuff above. Did I miss some of your comments? I think I got that one. I got that one. Okay. 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 Activate your messages me weekly. Yeah, we did that one. We did that one. My ex often asks me um, to asks me to reminisce, but never more than that. It's just stroking his ego. Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think we've already addressed all of these. Yeah, I'm not seeing your other message, so I think I'm missing it. Um, yeah. Okay. So yeah, I mean, I don't know. Maybe I'm just missing the other message again. I know that this looks really organized on your end, the chat feature. But on my end, it just shows up as these little bubbles that just kind of float up and then disappear after a moment. So I have to kind of scroll through them and like they vanish, and then I have to make them show up again and find where I left off. So it's a lot more difficult on my end. But anyway, I think I've answered all your questions. But once again, everyone, thanks so much for the super chats. Thanks so much for showing up here on Saturday when you could probably be doing much more interesting things than watching me. And I hope you have a great weekend. I'm going to wrap some things up here, head home to my family, and I will talk to you guys next weekend. Take care. I'll talk to you later.